Good morning, delegates, and welcome to Model UN News. I'm Mrs. Tyne.
And I'm Mrs. O'Brien.
For our top story today, Sunni powerhouse Saudi Arabia and Iran, the predominant Shia power, have a long-standing rivalry. Facing off across the Persian Gulf, the two energy-rich powers have, for decades, stood on opposing sides of conflicts in the Middle East. Currently, both are fighting a proxy war in Yemen, with Iran backing Shia rebels fighting a Saudi-led coalition supporting the Yemeni government.
2 days ago, Saudi Arabia blamed Iran for a missile launched from Yemen, which struck a Saudi airbase near the capital of Riyadh. While Iran has denied it had anything to do with the missile launch, most experts believe they are responsible for firing on Saudi Arabia. The Saudi king has promised swift retaliation on Iranian soil if Iran does not apologize within 1 week's time, which it has so far refused to do. We now go to Mr. Eckler, who has a live report on the current situation.
Thank you. Currently, there are no Saudi troops or Iranian troops fighting in Yemen. But my sources tell me that a war between Saudi Arabia and Iran could easily escalate beyond the region. Back to you in the studio.
From August to November of 2017, a total of 2,348 confirmed, probable, and suspected cases of plague, including 202 deaths, a mortality rate of 8.6%, were reported by the Ministry of Health of Madagascar to the World Health Organization. There were 1,791 cases of pneumonic plague, along with 341 cases of bubonic plague. In addition, there was 1 case of septicemic plague, along with 215 cases of unspecific cases. Symptoms of the pneumonic plague include infected lungs with saliva tinted with blood. As the disease progresses, the amount of blood in the saliva increases and becomes free-flowing and bright red. Symptoms take 1 to 7 days to appear. Symptoms of the bubonic plague include enlarged and inflamed lymph nodes around the armpits, neck, and groin, headaches, nausea, aching joints, fever of 101 to 105 degrees, vomiting, and a general feeling of illness. Both types have a high mortality rate.
3 cases of pneumonic plague were reported in Mozambique, and then last week 10 cases were reported in a refugee camp in Sudan. Some aid workers who were assisting in the refugee camp have already returned to Europe. Merchant shipping spreading the disease is also a concern. Although no cases outside of Africa have yet to be reported, the World Health Organization is concerned about the potential global spread of the disease. We now go to our reporter in the field for a live report.
I'm Larry Weber here in South Sudan. As fear of the plague spreads throughout Africa, countries are beginning to close their borders to all international travel. This not only includes people trying to leave Africa, but medical aid workers who are trying to enter plague-stricken areas. Doctors Without Borders has expressed its deep concern over not being able to enter these areas. Back to you, Ms. Solomon, in the studio.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Weber. The United Nations Security Council is debating whether to impose economic sanctions on countries who close their borders. Delegates, it's now up to you to address this potential global pandemic.